wall behind me. Notice the lack of cracks or globs of dripping paint. This is the result of proper preparation and steps taken to ensure that the wall looks perfect and that the paint doesn't fail. Today, I'll be detailing those steps on how to properly paint the wall so that the wall looks as good as it can and that the paint lasts as long as possible. After I'm finished here today, I hope that you will have gained, or at least reinforced, the knowledge you need to properly paint a wall so that you may take this information and apply it to your own homes and perhaps give them a new look. Now, I'm no carpenter, but I have been involved in a few projects around my own house, including the painting of my own room, as well as my sister's. Both of these experiences have given me a basic understanding of how to paint, and research I conducted gave me more in-depth understanding so that it may relay this information to you. Now, there are 3 basic steps one must undergo if he or she wishes to paint a wall, namely priming the wall, painting the wall, and finalizing the job. Now, simply applying paint directly to the wall will result in a messy, finished product. Priming is the most essential part of the entire process because it prevents damage and ensures the paint lasts. Applying primer, such as this, to all the areas that you wish to paint will prevent dilapidation of the paint later on. Joseph Chouini, a former carpenter and editor of Popular Mechanics magazine, lists 3 major uses of primer. Primarily, it acts as adhesion for the paint so that it doesn't drip, as well as preventing stains from bleeding through and extending the life of the paint later on. After you have finished priming the wall, the most fun part of the process can finally begin, the painting. While painting the wall can certainly be exciting, don't get overzealous in this step, because if you do, the result will be patchy and rough. Several techniques are popular among professionals. For example, the website from Lowe's suggests using a zigzag pattern, starting from the top and working diagonally down. However, Home Depot insists using a V or W pattern yields the best results. While both of these techniques work, I have found that the V or W pattern is not only easier to understand, but simpler to execute. While technique is important, the proper tools are also necessary for the job. A roller such as this one is typical for a project such as this. However, trying to use a roller over corners and edges can get messy. This is when you should use a hand brush with more refined edges to get into the nooks and crannies of the wall. Combination of proper technique and proper tools will result in a nice first coat. Now, once the hard part is over, there's still a few more steps that need to be taken to ensure that the look lasts. Now, one coat of paint will surely not cover it in the long run, and in the short term, the result will look dry and cracked. Multiple coats of paint are necessary to extend the life of the paint and prevent wear and tear. Sharper Impressions Painting Company lists several advantages of adding at least a second coat of paint, including that a second coat of paint makes the final product look better and more professional. They also claim that adding a simple second coat of paint will extend the lifetime of the final product by up to 10 years. Just imagine how devoting an extra hour of time now will prevent having unnecessary reparations done later on. In conclusion, I hope that this information will help you later on if you ever find yourself wanting or needing to paint a wall. Remember, priming is the most essential step of the entire process, because without it, the rest of the steps will just simply yield a worse product. Remember when you're painting to use proper techniques and proper tools, as well as don't forget that second coat of paint to prevent wear and tear and to extend the life of the paint. Now, I'd like to leave you all with a simple rule to remember: the 3 P's of painting: prime, paint, and paint again. Thank you all for listening, and I will open the floor to any questions. Yes, ma'am.
On the 2 techniques that you talked about, which goes faster, the zigzag or the W?
Well, I found that the W and V patterns are definitely easier to understand. The diagonal pattern is surely it takes less time to use. because it covers a longer area, because you can start at the top, work diagonally down, up, and down, and then you can just flip that, and it covers more area. So the diagonal method is your answer. Any other questions? Yes, sir.
So you showed me the roller there, but if you're a sharp person, how do you reach the top of a wall that's like 8
Well, this-
foot or so?
Yes, sir. So while this is typically a handheld roller, there are extensions to rollers that can extend about 5 feet to reach the top of walls like this, or if you really need to, a ladder is also a proper tool to use. But don't get hasty on the ladder, you'll fall. Any other questions? No? Great. Well then I thank you all for coming out and listening to me, and I hope you have a great day.
5 minutes, 45 seconds.
Perfect. It's under 6 minutes. Oh, and I probably should show this too.
You said primer a lot, Stan.
Primer?
He's ingraining it in your head. Primer is important.
It's just a phone.
He said the first